Okay, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome on into another edition of RJ's Lives. You see, we got Terry and Cal. Tom is not going to be with us today. He had some family going over and he had to make a special trip to get Junior released from his probation officer and all kinds of stuff going on there. You know, y'all saw Junior came back this week. So if you want to know the true story of how Skip got off the wagon, uh, he'll tell you. It's an interesting thing. So yeah, we are ready for an awesome live. I see Jeroen is there. We got Richter Knives, my favorite knife tuber, is here. We got Old Farts Knives, which is Jess's name change. We got Mike Curtis is listening in. Mike is having some migraine spells, so everybody, say a prayer for Mike and hope he can get some relief from that because that really gets you. We got Ground Fog and Broke Ass Knives all the way from Arizona. Sharp Guy, he's here too. So welcome in, guys. We're going to be having a good time today. So I thought, we just kind of change things up today and see what kind of videos you guys have been watching, see what you like, see what's been out there on your mind. You want to go first, Terry?
Yeah. As far as the knife videos this week, I'd say probably the top notch would be the one that Tobias put out. Pretty much everybody has seen it. Excellent video. He hit some really good points, and talked about his dad and everything, and it was really good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did too.
Really enjoyed that. Uh, uh, and then probably the next most enjoyable video I seen this week was actually this morning, and thank goodness Tom's not here, so his head won't swell up. But he put out a video this morning on a USA made Boker electrician's knife, and of course he showed cleaning it up and everything, but he's very proud of that knife, and as he should be. Really great find. I think he got it at an antique store or something, and really great find. He sent me pictures of it right after he got it, and
Nice.
He's real happy with that. And, that was a real good, enjoyable video. And if y'all will allow me, I'd like to just do some thank yous real quick.
Absolutely.
I broke the 500 mark, and everybody has been extremely kind to me, very generous to me. It's been really great, really great. I get lost for words, and I guess my knife brother that's been with me since about 12 subscribers, since about video number 1 or 2, the one and only Tired Tiger, put out a short this week about me, and it's funny. It's very humbling. I love that boy to death. I really do, and it's just been great. It's been really great.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
And congratulations on getting to 500. That's an important achievement, an important milestone, and it wasn't that long ago that I reached that milestone myself, and it makes a difference, and we all sit there and you're just like, kind of not even believing that 500 people would care enough to watch what you're doing.
Exactly.
We do.
Exactly.
But we appreciate you guys, definitely being there. We should start a band. If only we were in Texas, right, Jeroen? Cal's got a head start on us there.
Calm down.
I'm ready, brother. Except for the moving part.
Yeah.
That's the part that's never fun.
All he really needs the knives.
That's true. That's true. Just a suitcase full of knives and just buy everything else all over again.
Right? There you go.
Forget the suitcase. Just fill up a guitar case. Hit the road.
There you go.
We'll
Yep.
we'll meet you halfway, RJ, and we'll both bring trucks, and we'll help you.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. But no, we are very thankful for our audience. I mean, it's you guys that keep us going because we make these videos, we put them out there, and once you release it, you don't know if anybody's going to watch it or not. And the fact that you guys do, you find some value in it, and you spend some time with us, we super much appreciate all of that. It's a really good feeling, and so it's really nice to be appreciated by you guys. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Are you ready, Cal? Did you want to tell us what videos you liked this week? No.
I mean, my week has been tied up with life, but over the weekend, I watch a lot of arm wrestling videos. Devin Larratt beat Denis Saplenkoff, who is a monster of a human, and I thought that was pretty cool. I've supported Devin for like the last 2 or 3 years. I've got to meet him. He's from Canada and stuff. He's a real big channel. He's got like 800,000 subscribers at the moment.
Wow.
And yeah,
we're in the wrong business, Terry.
He's a monster himself. So I watched him over the weekend. I thought that was pretty cool. So that's about it for me, though. I've had a rough week. Just say that.
Well, I'm sorry about that, brother.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, it's been kind of that way with me too, with a lot of work. And my wife recently lost her best friend to cancer, and so it's been kind of a healing week, or trying to get healed from that. So we've been doing a lot of stuff. I did catch Rasputin's Castle and his video on blade geometry, which I thought was actually very interesting. That he took the time to go through there and explain kind of all the different blade shapes and all that stuff. It's really kind of interesting. So if you get a chance, if you're into that kind of stuff, then definitely check that out. Let's see here. Don C is he says he's a smaller guy. Let me put this up here. So he's throwing down the gauntlet. He's a smaller guy, but he could arm wrestle with the best of them. Most up here in the bush probably could. Ha ha. Yeah, I would imagine there's a lot of arm wrestling going on in Canada. You guys got to have some kind of fun there to pass the nights there in the bush. That's for sure. And LD's Pocket Knives is with us. Welcome. He's listening in. Awesome. And yes, Jerome, life can be tough sometimes. That's for sure. But you get by with a little help from your friends, as the song says. So there you go. So anything else you guys want to talk about? Anything that you'd like to say before we dive into our main topic today?
I'm good. Let's get it.
You're good. Let's get it. Okay. Well, I'm going to bring myself up full screen so you guys can check out this knife with me. I'm going to make a video on this. So I'm not going to go totally into depth on it. But earlier this week, or was it last week? I don't know. End of last week, I was on eBay and I found this little Buck 309 companion, which is a pretty cool knife. This is one of the early ones that was not made by Buck, but it's just basically a 2-blade pen knife. But the guy had it listed in the advertising on eBay. He called it a half Stockman. And so I was like, okay, I can see how he could get that. Here's a Buck 303, and it's slightly bigger than that one. But if you take off the sheep's foot blade, if I can open this up without cutting myself to death. But if you take off the sheep's foot blade and you change, it's got a pen blade on it. If you just have this pen blade and the main blade, then yeah, I can see how you could say that's 2 blades. You're just switching where this one is out to this position, then, deleting a spring. So it's like, it could be a half Stockman, but in my mind, this has always been a pen knife. And then that started making me think, well, you see things like half Stockman, half Whittler, half Congress. And why are they a half, and why wouldn't they be their own pattern? Why wouldn't they have their own name for that? Hey, Zen, I see you're there. So I'm just kind of like, thinking about why do we call certain knives by the names that we call them? And I thought that might be an interesting topic to just kind of run down and get everyone's opinion on that and see what they think. So that's where we'll start it. And then you guys want to jump in there, or shall I expound some more?
Well, I got the same 309 that I just acquired this past week, and mine's a 96 model, and I've already done a video on it. It'll be coming out tomorrow, but I'm of the same adage as you. Is I've always heard it called a pen knife, just because that's what I've always heard it called, because that the blades are on either end, and two blades. So it's always been called a pen knife. So that's that's kind of what I've gone with. As far as a whittler and a half whittler, now a whittler, a real whittler is going to have, in most cases, it's going to have a swell in the bottom. That's what helps make those springs stronger. They run, your main big whittling blade is going to run on those two springs, and that swell in that back spring is what helps make it strong. So you'll see and I never realized about a half whittler until last couple of years, and they're usually smaller, but they'll have the single spring, and they'll have the main blade on this end, and then they'll have one blade, whether it be a pin or a coping or whatever, on the other end, but it'll have the swell center. I just have to assume that that's why they call it a half whittler, because it's missing a blade and only has one spring instead of two. That's just what I
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. Uh-oh. What we got going on?
That's correct. I found that to be correct, at least.
Oh, okay. He finds that to be correct. I see it's complete and utter balderdash.
I have the half whittler.
Okay. Let's bring it up and let's take a look.
It has the swell, as Terry would say, at the on the bottom, and it has the pin blade instead of the two blades. It has the single spring. You can see the swell there. But I would just assume that what Terry said was correct on the half whittler, at least. And the Congress, I would assume that it missing two blades would make it the half Congress, instead of the full blade.
Well, actually, that's what I was going to say. Is that the Congress? Then are we calling it a Congress because of that frame shape that it has, that kind of a curved frame? So if that's a Congress and the other one's a half Congress, because really with two blades, one that opens on each end fits the definition of a pen knife. The blade set fits the definition of a pen knife, but we're going to call it a Congress because of the frame and not a pen, although it could be a pen. So it's kind of
well, the pen knife is its own frame, in my opinion, which is is this right here. This is the case pen knife, and this is what I've always known a pen knife to be. Just mostly straight across, at least mostly. And they're always really small.
Well, yeah.
For the most part, except for the 47, which I also have. It's a bit larger.
I'm glad you're here, Gizmo, because we're gonna get into the meat of the subject on this one, and you're gonna you're going to help us. I just wish you were on the panel.
Well, I was also going to
but then, of
say,
course, you might just call us all a bunch of idiots and not want to talk to us again. I don't know.
well, there's also a Congress with 3 blades,
A 3-bladed Congress.
and it's called a Congress Whittler.
Now, see, that's just cheating right there.
Well, there's also one with 5 blades.
And it's the Congress pattern.
And see, really, when I look at that, it looks like a Whittler. It doesn't look like a Congress at all. But
It's totally, it's a Congress. It's curved on top, and it's it's the banana shape or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then here's a regular Congress.
Kayla, the Congress with the 3 blades, does it have a split spline?
No, mine don't. It's just back springs riding against each other.
Yeah,
Okay.
mine's the same way. I have this Hen and Rooster Whittler, and it had the main blade rides on the 2 back springs, but then it just has the 2 springs, but it's not a split spring. Where they're I don't know if you can see, but yeah, they're there. So the main blade is going to ride on both springs, and then you have each one of the other blades is on its own spring. So you got your coping and your pen blade. So Gizmo says the coping blade gives the Whittler its name.
Correct.
And then Zen says the meta definition is a pen is a knife with blades on both bolsters. A jack only has a blade from one bolster. Right. That's correct. That's as far as I know. That definition suits me just fine.
Okay, so I have another question then.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's play devil's advocate here.
That's what we're here for.
Now this is a Parker cutlery Whittler. Okay, there's your main blade. Runs on 2 back springs. Split. It has a split spline. Has the wedge in it. Okay, and it is a swell center. All right, but it does not have a coping blade. It has a pin and kind of a pinish, spade, spear, whatever you want to call it. So if this requires having a coping blade to be called a Whittler, then what will we actually call this? Because I call it a Whittler because of the frame and the frame and the construction of the back springs. It has the swell center like a Whittler. Has the springs where the main blade runs off of both springs, and then the secondary and third blade run off of their own. This just happens to be one with a wedge in it. Some call it split back, spline back, wedge back, whatever. So if you have to have a coping blade to call this a Whittler, then what will we call this?
Blasphemy.
Well, maybe.
I have another one. I have one right here that's 100 years old. This is a Cattaraugus. It's 100 years old. It has 2 back springs. It has a swell center. It is a Coke bottle. This has got the only thing this thing don't have is a copperhead. This is an amazing piece of cutlery right here. But the main blade runs off of 2 back springs, and then it has 2 identical pin blades, no coping blade. So this has always been billed to me as a Coke bottle Whittler. So it don't have a coping blade. So
That's
what
crazy.
So what would we call this?
I like it though.
I mean,
Oh,
really, they're just.
I like it. I
I
like
mean,
it. You know,
It's just
it's
to me,
wonderful.
it's just variations of the Whittler. It's just all it is.
That's what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
just like, you know, in the modern world now, as we in the modern knife world, which that's what we're in. We like traditional knives, but we're still in the modern knife world. You got
Right.
modern knives, you got modern traditionals, and you got traditional. But Taylor and I, we have a lot of conversations about knives, and there's two terms that you use, and it sort of just sums it up. You use the term modified, and he uses the term allegedly. There you go. Because depending on who made this knife, whatever they call it is what it is.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Uh,
And there's no original patterns anymore. They're all hybrids nowadays.
yes,
I mean, unless it's it's made to be an original pattern, But when you start making knives with two pin blades on a Whittler instead of a coping, it's just a hybrid, a variant.
right.
Right.
But they done this one 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have a coping blade.
There's still hybridizations of knives in those days.
Right. All right.
They were creative back then as well.
Marvin asks, did I send him a lockback knife within the last week? No, I did not. Do I need to get on that? So I don't know who's sending you one, but if it's got my name on it, then that would be awesome. Somebody did me a solid on that.
Well, when you get into the, I know I'm flopping back and forth, but when you go back to the pin blade, okay. So the pin blade that you were showing, you said needed to be straight, correct, Cal?
Not necessarily. It's not straight. It's more of a serpentine shape.
So that's kind of where I want to go with this right here. If y'all allow me to, I want to go with this right here. So
Well, yes, counselor, approach the bench.
Yeah,
I'll allow that.
I'll throw my mercy on it. Okay, so this is a 309, right? All right, so we all agree that this is a pen knife. Do we agree with that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you see the pattern. It's a serpentine pattern, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got a slight. I wouldn't say it's a true serpentine. It's on mine. It's basically from the center pin, it tapers down to each side. So
Right.
I would say it's not a true serpentine. Not like I have some Stockman that I would say are more.
There you go. It does. It really does take on the look of a Stockman.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's do this right quick. I want over to. Here is a full-size Craftsman Stockman. So,
Right.
Would you say that those two frames are very similar?
I would say that the one on top qualifies to me as a serpentine, and the one down below is not.
Yeah, the buck knife, the swell on top is just a bit weird to be a serpentine. In my opinion.
Okay, all right, but we agree it's a pin knife.
Yeah. But
So now let's go.
Byron's got it right.
What do you say?
Objection, leading the audience. Just ask one's question.
Hang on, Byron. Just stay with me, baby. I'm going somewhere. Stay with me. Don't leave. Lock the back door. Don't let him out.
I need to get a gavel out.
So here is a Soligen Germany-made Boker. Do we call that a pen knife?
yeah, surely.
I would not call it a pen knife myself, but that's just me.
What would you call it, RJ?
Well, I forget what did Queen call theirs when they came out with that one, the that William nicknamed Cracky. I forget what they called it, but it was a single blade.
It's a sway back.
Yeah, they just called it a sway back. Yeah, that. I don't know.
Which is right here.
Oh, see, there you go.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. While we're here, let's do that.
Yeah, because that looks the same to me. Now I don't really see a sway back in that.
Yeah, I don't know why they're calling it sway back. I don't see that.
Okay. So you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Just because of this is the way I was taught. Okay. I was taught it's a penknife for the simple reason that it, bolsters, it has two bolsters. It don't have a bolster and a cap. It has two bolsters and it's a two blade. It's a single back spring, absolutely well-made knife, but okay. Now, that's a buck deuce.
Right.
Is that a pen knife?
I would say yes, although it has a coping blade on it.
So that having a coping blade, does that don't make it a whittler?
I would say no, but then again,
Half
someone
whittler.
else may say yes.
Half whittler.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't think it's got two back springs. You see what I'm going with it?
Yeah,
Exactly.
but Buck always uses a back spring for each blade.
Mm-hmm.
Show me a Buck whittler with two back springs working the same blade.
I wouldn't be able to do that because I don't have one.
If they exist, I just haven't seen one.
Yeah, I'm not a buck aficionado. I'm just now sort of getting into some more bucks.
Yeah, we need Tom for that. Tom is our buck man for sure.
Yeah, and it's kind of a prerequisite to be at least say you're collecting bucks if you're going to be friends with Tom. So,
I feel like I'm off. I feel like I'm off in the deep end with no floaty over here.
Hey, we'll get you, man. There's a lifeguard at this pool.
Definitely gets confusing with these knife patterns and names.
It does. But that's why I thought it would be a fun topic to talk about because there's so many weird things. Like we were talking in the pre-show. Here's a case copperhead,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's called a copperhead because of the bolster being able to cover the tangs, and they say it looks kind of serpent-like. So we have that one. Then we have the copper lock, which has the copperhead bolster, but it has the back lock. So it's named for a bolster and a feature. But then you have the canoe, which has the same kind of a bolster, but it has one on each end, and it's just called a canoe because
which is a pen knife,
which could be a pen knife. Speaking of canoes, this is the one thing about a canoe that I don't like is the pen knife on them. Not that it's not useful or anything, but with this big kick and stuff, it's just not conducive to work, at least for me. I mean, it's okay for opening a box or something like that, but I find very little use for the secondary blade on a canoe. I much prefer to use the larger pen blade, but that's just me. And to me, the pen blade fits in perfect with the bolster. But then if you had a single bladed canoe, it would probably just be a single bladed copperhead, right? Because you wouldn't need the other bolster for sure, because you could just put a cap on it or have it as a bear head. So yeah, it's definitely kind of fun. When you look at different kind of knives. I don't know. It's like who came up with this stuff?
If you could take a canoe and change this pen blade to a sheep's foot blade, now, don't you think that would make an awesome carry?
That would be kind of cool.
If I only knew a custom knife maker. If I only knew a custom knife maker that that could do something like that.
That's true. And if only we knew some guys that made custom slips to make a slip for it too.
Yeah,
That'd be nice too.
what do you do?
Oh, Cohen is back. Where is Slippy, Thrifty, Tom, and Patty? Well, I guess you haven't been here in a while. Okay, so just to go over it real quick, Patty has decided that he wants to be on a break from the show, and so we're having him take as much time as he needs. He'll let me know when he wants to come back. He's always got a spot at the table, though, and he knows that. With Thrifty and Slippy, they do the Thrifty and Slippy show that happens before this live stream, and it was just too much for them to do 2 live streams back to back, which I totally get that. So they've decided to do their show on Sunday mornings, and then I do mine, and then Big J and Boston Blade Reviews does a live stream after this. So there's those kind of shows are going in that thing. Thrifty and Matt both have a spot here on the panel anytime they'd like to come back to visit every once in a while. I'm totally hoping that they will, and who knows, we may be able to get the old gang back together. I don't know, but as it is, we're just going through that. Tom, at the top of the hour or bottom of the hour, I don't know, wherever we started. Tom has some relatives that are over visiting at his house, and he needed some extra time to go get probation or get Junior from the probation officer and get some papers from the court so that he's allowed to have a visitation with the family and stuff. It's a whole lot of family drama over there at Tom's house. So, so that's where he is, but he will definitely be back. That's for sure. So, yep, we have a lot of spin-off shows. That's for sure. So we're just kind of going with the flow and still having a knife show every Sunday for you guys to tune in, and we hope you all enjoy it. We got Terry and Cal have been good enough to come on the last few weeks, and I welcome them to keep coming on because they have been a whole lot of fun on the show, and I really enjoy their company. I don't know, John, if Junior made parole, but that's what he's going to go check out to see if he could get Junior to come back with the family. I don't know if it'll be a monitored visitation or not. We'll have to find out. But just for fun, we decided to talk about, what makes different. Yep. And then Patrick's going to be on once his paperwork is done. I'm holding a seat for 1 minute knife review when he comes on. That'll be fun because he's got a whole lot of stuff to say. Let's see here. The last thing I heard about Tom was having gangs with burning stakes to fight off because of Junior. Wow, that's bad. Ankle bracelet required. Definitely. Yep. So that's it. And then today we're just kind of going over why are the knives we love named so many weird things when they don't have to be, or maybe because it's just tradition. I don't know, but kind of what makes a penknife a penknife, what makes a canoe a canoe. We haven't even got to the animal portion yet. I got muskrats and mooses that we still got to talk about. And
don't ask.
Thank you, Byron. Yep, Byron says, and this is true, is that we do boost new and upcoming channels, and we do try to support as many of them as we can. In fact, next week we're going to have a visit from LD's Knives. He's going to join the panel, and that'll be he's a new channel all the way from New Zealand. So that's going to be really a fun show because I love talking about knife cultures in other places and kind of what is the carry laws over there. Are they different than what they got in the UK and the EU? I hope they are. And what kind of stuff that they have. And I was going to talk to him because I have a guy, I used to work with a guy who was from New Zealand. He's actually gone back to New Zealand, but he worked over it with us for about a year or so. And so one time I thought, well, he's from New Zealand. He'll probably enjoy this. So I showed him. I said, "Hey, man, what do you think of this?" And I handed him a Stockman, and he looked at me like, "What is this? Why would I want to look at a knife?" You know. I found out he was not a knife person that day, which actually made me kind of sad, because I think all guys should at least have a passing familiarity with knives, and right. I mean, Terry, you named your channel after it. It's man stuff.
That's
right?
exactly
If you're a man,
right.
you should be appreciative of a good stockman, and he was not. He looked like I'd handed him something that might bite him. I don't know, but he was kind of like, "Yeah, what's special about this?"
Just hand it on back then.
Exactly. I was like, if I have to explain it, then you just don't get it, brother. All right, Swamp Stomper is here. Fantastic. And yeah, I think Baby Butterbean is a terrible name for a small canoe. I definitely can get down with that, Cohen. I don't like that either. And let's see here. He had made a comment about peanuts. Peanuts are peanuts because they look like one. And I don't know, maybe kind of a little. What do you think, Terry? You're down there in peanut country. You've seen wild peanuts, I'm sure.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know where in the world all that come from.
I don't either, because peanuts have like a large bulb at one end and a small bulb on the other, and
or large and large.
That's not the shape of the knife.
Yeah, I don't have any major really nice peanuts. I've got a few Imperial peanuts, and I think I got a couple of Frost peanuts. And I don't really know where that come from, because really and truly, the peanut is more of a type of serpentine type pattern to me.
I agree with that.
And it's definitely a jackknife.
Yes.
So it's definitely a jackknife. Somewhere along the line, somebody thought it looked like a peanut, or I don't know if the cat that made the first one nickname was Peanut, or what I'm saying. It could come from anything. I mean, I'm about to be 60 years old, and it's been called a peanut ever since I've been able to hear.
Right.
So they called it a peanut. My daddy called it a peanut. His daddy called it a peanut. I call it a peanut. It's a peanut.
Yeah.
I really can't answer that. Like I said, it's I think everybody would agree that they are a jackknife.
Right.
Other than that, I don't know how to answer that one.
Right. And Mike Curtis says he has a few.
And he does. Mike carries a peanut every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Yes, he does. I would love to see just his peanut collection. That must be stunning. But Zen had a story here. He says he went to a Lowe's yesterday, saw a Boy Scout fundraising, and the guy wasn't even carrying a knife. And he asked him about it, and he said, "Well, I only carry it when I'm camping." And that is sad. That is sad. A boy should have a knife. I don't know. They're trying to not make boys be boys anymore, is what it is. Unfortunately. But William says maybe it's because it's small like a peanut in your pocket, back when people carried peanuts as snacks.
I was gonna say maybe it's about the length of a peanut. It definitely doesn't take the shape of a peanut, but maybe it's about the length of one.
I would agree with that it could be.
Well, boy, like you said, I live in peanut country, and they don't dig up no peanuts down here that's 2 7/8 inches long.
No, I don't think they do.
No, they
don't.
Not
at all. What you got there, Cal? Let's bring you up and talk about that.
Peanut.
What?
But I got it's only for whittlers though.
That's a modified peanut.
Now you're really muddy in the waters. This is not fun.
Oh, they're muddy, brother. No, this is my favorite. Little 1970 peanut. I don't see the resemblance in the food. If it was shaped like a peanut, you would have a swell here, and then you would have a swell here with maybe an indent in the middle. Instead of the swell center, you would have an indent.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of his nickname being Peanut the best, probably.
I do too. It's like, what you got there, Peanut? Wow, we could sell a bunch of those.
Absolutely.
That's the best ever. Well, Jerome made a comment about a centuries old pattern. He called it the Sodbuster. He wanted to know why it was called a Sodbuster. So here's a Sodbuster Junior. This is my case that has the buffalo horn, and I brought it out specifically for this because yes, this is actually a centuries old pattern, and yes, Case did put a trademark on the name Sodbuster, which is kind of strange, but yeah, this is just a regular. These were called folding butcher knives, I think, in Germany, and they were. It's just
this basic knife.
Yeah, this basic shaped knife has been around for as long as knives have been made, ever. But Case called it a Sodbuster and put a trademark on it, so they are the only ones that can have that. That's why you see all the different ones, a Clodbuster and different variations of the name. Roper calls theirs the tumbleweed and all this kind of stuff. So definitely a great knife shape. I love the Sodbuster Junior size because these are very easy to carry, very pocketable, and just an all-around great knife. This is one that you guys can, the farmer's knife. Exactly.
Yeah, it was marketed towards farmers, was it not?
Well, yes, but Sodbuster actually is a derogatory term for a farmer. So that's the whole thing. Is that it's like, why would you basically use a term that kind of slanders what they do and make that it? But I mean, that's just the marketing department.
Well, to me, it's not. I don't find it derogatory. It's just somebody that busts sod. It's just.
It was if you watch
that sod is just dirt and bust.
If you watch the old westerns,
right?
Especially Shane, which
was, I don't pay attention to TV.
Way before your time.
I don't listen to the TV.
You don't have to listen to it. You can watch it.
Right.
But yes, that's one of those things that there you go. Okay, Zen saying pour a pack of salted peanuts into a bottle of Coke is the bomb. There you go. Putting peanuts in Cokes. That's old school right there. Yeah, an unsophisticated knife. Exactly, John.
So peanuts and Coke.
Yeah, you got some. There you go.
Peanuts and Coke.
That's what I like. That's the peanuts and Coke that fits in your pocket.
That's it's a peanut. That's a Coke.
And yes, Georgia Adventurer does make a great little sheath for a Soddy Junior. Exactly. Thank you, Terry, for pointing that out. And Randy says he has a nice bare end peanut, but it doesn't look like a peanut either. And yeah, I would imagine so. That's true. All right, so where shall we go next? How about back down to where you're at, Terry? You're gonna be familiar with this knife, and that is going to be the cotton sampler. Here's a knife that is named because of the blade or the blade's use, rather than what it is. It's just a single blade jackknife, really. But I thought I'd throw a cotton sampler in there just in honor of you, my friend.
You
look out your front door and you can sample it all you want, right?
Exactly. The way I sample cotton is I walk out the front door. I said, "Yep, that there is cotton." I get to work. And I open up the warehouse door. And I said, "Yep, that there is cotton, boys." But I had never in my life, and I grew up. I grew up in north central Alabama, and around cotton farmers and corn farmers, and I'm down here in cotton country. Kaylin is in Texas, where the biggest cotton crops on this continent come from, and I've never seen nor heard of a cotton sampler till maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
I'm the same way.
And I've talked to farmers that's been cotton farmers all their life. I have a dear friend that's in his 70s that still farms. He plants 4,000 acres of cotton every year, and he says never seen one, never heard of one.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too. Is this just a manufactured thing, or is this a real thing? Or because I even think about it, back in the day, let's go back to the 1800s. I just can't see there being a call for a particular knife to be that specialized to do that, even if they wanted to check inside of a bale of cotton to make sure it was the same all the way through. I can't see them having a special knife just designed just for that and stuff. It just seems kind of different.
Yeah, because that's not how you test cotton. How you test cotton is, okay, metal has a tensile strength.
Right.
That's a tensile. All right. Cotton, a tensile strength in cotton is called staple. That's just their term. The actual tensile strength of it, how they grade it is tensile. How much less elasticity is, how far. In other words, how far you can pull it before it breaks.
Right.
Okay. So, of course, I've heard somebody say that they use that knife to cut open a boll of cotton, and they take the seed and put on that flat spot and all that. Wrong answer.
Yeah.
They don't, because that seed don't mean nothing to that cotton farmer, because that's what the gin is for. So
right.
Somebody with a whole lot more smarts than this old Georgia boy would have to explain that to me.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can find some more out on that, because there's not really any history on it or anything. I mean, yeah, William pointed out that they do have that pattern in some old catalogs and stuff, but I don't know exactly how it was. Now, I look at it myself, and it is kind of like a big giant spade blade. I think of it as a great, game processing knife with all that belly, and you could really, clean up an animal with this real quick.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Have you ever seen anything like that in your part of the world, Cal? Have you ever seen them or know anything about those?
Not necessarily that shape of a blade, but I've always seen, the hawkbill considered a sampler knife for sampling plants or whatever,
Yeah, we have a lot of big farms out here, and you do see quite a few people wandering around with melon testers. They'll have that, big, long, thin bladed knife.
Yep.
Did you want to show off your hawkbill?
I've shown it before. It's just a sampling knife for sampling whatever crop you want to sample.
But wait, that's a swayback, isn't it?
This is the true swayback. And but yeah, you would just put your finger, between the branch or whatever and it, the hawkbill, it's designed to cut as you pull. So,
right.
I mean,
I'll go ahead and put your comment
anytime really sharp,
William, so you can take a look at that. And Mikey, you gifted a membership, so thank you for that. I don't have the YouTube comments up, so I can't see who got that. Oh, El Cap Addict, awesome! Did you win that? I didn't get a chance to watch that show yet, but if you won that knife, then congratulations. That's awesome. Thank you for that. But yeah, that's what William says. So unscrupulous cotton sellers would wind good cotton over a ball of crappy cotton, and the sampler was supposed to allow core samples. So we'll see if that's what they was for. That's what I heard they were for too. But I don't know. I'd have to actually talk to a real live cotton picker to know about that. Cotton pickers, cotton samplers, and there we go. Another nice hawkbill.
Yeah, there's your case. Hawkbill, sampler, sway back, single blade jackknife. But now, you have to be my age and older to know that when I was coming up, a lot of guys carried these knives. A lot of guys carried these knives. A lot of farmers, people working in the cotton mills and stuff like that carried these knives. People working in cotton mills carried these knives. Of course, you got a loom fixer, but they also carried these knives right here on those spinning frames and stuff to cut that stuff loose, to cut that yarn and that thread loose and all. So a lot of farmers, I had an uncle that baled a lot of hay. He carried one of these to cut the hay string, the hay baling wire with and everything. And, this used to be a very, very common knife when I was coming up in the 60s, 70s.
Wait a minute. We got people using knives for what they're not designed to be used for?
Oh,
I'm not even going to touch that.
Yeah.
But yes, it looks like Swamp Stomper won the gifted membership. Thank you, Patrick, for letting me know that. And yes, Swamp Stomper, send me an email. My email's in the About section of the channel, and then we will definitely get you some swag. All right. Yes. Thank you very much, Patrick, for pointing that out. To thank everyone who does give away memberships. It does mean a lot to those who win, and it helps support the channel. That's for sure. So it's a great way to help out your fellow viewers. How's that? Yeah. And Jeroen says about everyone that had animals used a hawkbill for the hoofs. That seems like that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
a lot easier than a sheep's foot.
And other than a stockman, I don't ever remember seeing people carrying like single blade sheep's foot and stuff like a lot of us do now, or loom fixers. Some of them call them loom fixers, half hawks, all of that. I don't remember seeing a lot of that back then. They were hawkbill.
Right.
Most everybody carried a hawkbill if they didn't have a stockman.
Yeah, I mean the knives that I saw growing up was, of course, you would see guys with a small peanut or pen style knife, rather one of those, or you'd see a small stockman, or they would go for a larger lockback, because really in that time, I would say from about say the mid to late 70s on, that's when you started seeing people carry buck knives. That's when you started seeing people carry a knife in a belt sheath, a folding knife. So that's when you started seeing the 110s and all the 110 clones and all that stuff. That became very popular for everybody, because everybody was carrying those back in the day.
In the 90s, just around the people I grew up with, I was a kid back then, but you pay attention to what the older men have that you're around. I only saw stockmans. That was all I saw growing up. Yeah, that was the only thing I saw. Just in my area, this part of Texas.
Right.
And that stands true. That stands true. You pretty much know about my age, so you pretty much know about how old my daddy would be. And my daddy never ever carried nothing but a 34 OT.
Yeah.
That's all he ever carried. He was a carpenter,
Right.
and of course, he, if we were doing roofing or something like that, he would have a razor knife. Well, actually, back years ago, he didn't even have a razor knife. He carried a fixed blade hawkbill with a wooden handle. That back then, I don't know, you may not have seen some of them, Kalen, but back in the day, you could get them at the hardware store.
Oh yeah.
They would have a round handle. They'd have a round handle, and they'd be real thin bladed hawkbill.
I have one.
Yeah, and that's what my daddy kept in his tool pouch around his waist.
Right.
And of course, back then they didn't use leather high dollar tool pouches. They were made out of like a burlap type material.
Yeah, like a canvas type
yes,
material.
and that's what he carried. And he only used that for something like that, or maybe possibly trimming a 2x4 or something to make it fit. But he was a cabinet maker. So that 34 OT, if he had a little, like a door or something that wasn't closing right or trying to fit a hinge, right there, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. Seems William has made us all look like fools.
He usually does.
So what'd he do?
Oh, he was talking about he gets his information direct from DynoNet. That's now we know that it has to be true. But for those that didn't see it, I'll go ahead and read it. Hawk bills are for fighting against hawks. Marlin spikes are for fighting against vicious marlin attacks. The sheep's foot is for cutting off sheep's feet. The copperhead is for fighting against copperheads. And I'll tell you what, if you're going to be a copperhead fighter, you better be fast.
I've been bit by a copperhead.
Yeah, those are fast. Those are.
Yeah, one got me. I wasn't fast enough.
No. Very few of us are.
This is just going back to the multiple variations of the same pattern. This is the 6347 in brown bone, and it is a 1980. And I was just showing that they also have, which I wasn't aware. And Jake over at Uncommon EDC has sent me this, and this is a 6247. There it is. I almost didn't get it. I had to double down on that one.
That's about a 10 pull for those
Yes,
that
it was.
score at home.
I'm surprised the fingernails survived, but it's a penknife, 6247, and it is quite large. The 47 is a larger medium knife.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a big penknife right there.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen the 6247.
Yeah, let's see if I can. And sometimes they put the 0 before the 6. I don't know what that is all about, but
well, there's actually there's on the site All About Pocket Knives. They have a page about the various case patterns, and there's quite a few patterns that they do put a 0 in front of the number, and then that's a whole different kind of a pattern than the one without a 0. So I don't know. It's just it's just.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe, but at least comparing just by look, the pattern is the exact same. It's just missing a blade and a spring, but it's the same exact same pattern. But I'll have to look more into that for sure. It's a shame that we can't get somewhere that all of the information matches up, on one website.
In today's day and age.
Yeah.
You got something to share there, Terry?
Well, I see you put up on the screen that Zen said seahorse.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Now I know that Case actually calls one of their whittlers a seahorse whittler.
Right.
This is a Rough Rider from the early 2000s, and they kind of bill it as a seahorse. It's got that look. It's not quite as dominant of a seahorse pattern as the Case, I don't think, because the Case seahorse whittler has the main blade is a kind of a humpback type Wharncliffe,
Right.
and this is a large California clip. And it has the tapered springs. Don't have a split back, but they are tapered.
Right.
And the reason I know for a fact that it is a whittler is it does have a coping blade. I actually call it a sheep's foot, but I think it's pretty neat. A whittler nonetheless.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I mean, the 34OT was the first Stockman that I started carrying all the time. When I started carrying a knife as a teenager, that was, what I had, and I carried that for years. And I probably have more time with a 34OT than any other Stockman, but they're just a great knife. They really are. I'm not surprised that your dad carried one, because that's what I saw growing up too, was a lot of old timers. I didn't really see any Case. I don't remember anybody talking about Case knives. It was either buck knives, old timers, or it was something from Japan, because that's when Japan imported a lot of knives. So you had a lot of guys were buying the, Japanese knives because they were, cheap. And my dad used to carry, a little SD Classic was the knife he carried all the time in his pocket. He always had one on his keys. And then I followed that, habit as well. But I can remember when he was working on stuff in the garage, he just had one of those, Stanley work knives, the razor knives that the thumb, you just shove it out the front, and that was what he used for marking 2x4s to cut and stuff like that. Or if he was doing any kind of work, he just grabbed one of those, so that was kind of what he was doing. So what's next? Shall we go to animal style knives, or what do we got?
Well, I got one right here that I had never in my life seen nor heard about. And this was a gift from your friend and mine, Brother R.W. And it is made by Linson. And after I had done a little video on it, I got some comments, and a couple of the guys actually knew a whole lot about these knives. This is a some people call it a gardener's knife. Some people call it a pruner knife. And actually, I think what it is a grafter. This is a knife that a grafter would use. If you know anything about fruit and nut trees, they have to be grafted. And that is what this the original company. These were originally made, I think, in Norway or it's a Norwegian type deal. And what I looked up and what I could find is, of course, you got your pruning blade. That that's a hawkbill. They call it a pruning blade. And then this little blade right here, which is very, very interesting. Let me close the half stops too. Rosewood handles. I love this knife. All right. But this little blade right here, y'all, I had to really check it out. But I found pictures of it where they take this straight blade right here for cutting a little wedge or a notch, in a limb, and do their grafting, right? Like you grafting the apple trees and such as that. And then this little jewel right here is what they use for when they're cross-pollinating. They take this and go in there and scrape that pollen, to cross-pollinate with, which is just cool as grits to me. Yeah. And then there was a part of the article talked about using this as cutting mushrooms and digging mushrooms. So I'm I'm proud to own. I'm proud to own this, and I'm really proud my friend sent it to me. It's just very, very cool.
Yes, indeed. And there we go. And then there was four.
There he is.
Hi guys.
We was talking about you earlier.
Hello Rod. Hello Kaylin. Hello Terry. Rocket Man.
What? Boy, I don't know what to do with you. I don't know what to do with you. He's run amok.
Oh boy.
How you doing, my friend?
Oh, doing good, doing good. I was on the watching Slippy and Thrifty show this morning, then had to run some errands.
Yep, understandable. Sunday mornings can get busy, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was planning on just jumping in the chat, but thank you, Rod, for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it'd be fun to have you on again because if you weren't busy, we can always use an extra hand around the place. That's for sure. It's always fun to talk with you, check in, see what's going on up there in the upper northwest corner of the country.
Oh, cold and rainy.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
So you're definitely not riding a motorcycle today.
No, not today. Actually, it was sunny yesterday, so I was able to wash a couple of bikes to get all the bugs off of them for winter, winterize a few bikes, and then top off the gas tanks. But yeah, so it was actually warm enough to do that. So that was nice.
Oh, okay, good.
I seen you made a couple of shorts outside. So that was cool.
Yeah. Sun's out. I got to do it if I can.
There you go.
Yeah, I would guess you guys do that is if you're watching the weather for a sunny day or whatever, especially this time of year, to try to hurry up and get stuff done.
Yeah, the bone covers pop a little bit more in the sunlight than they do the overcast skies.
Yes, they do.
That's for sure. Well, today we're just talking about knives and how they got some of their funny and funky names and stuff like that. We're talking about, some knives are named after the jobs they do, like here's a stockman or here's a electrician's knife. Others are named for who knows what. They're named for the bolster. They're named for the frame. They're named for the blade. They're named for who knows what. I don't know. Is there any knife except for the Barlow that's named after the guy who invented it? Because I think Barlow is named after the guy that was, the first person to do that.
That's the question Kayla and I were talking about.
Yeah.
So you have a story on that, Rod?
I don't. I think it goes that there was a knife maker named Barlow back in the day that made that style knife, and it just took off with workers and everything. I mean, they're great knives. I have two of them here. I have the here. I'll bring it up full screen. I have the Rough Rider and a case, but they make them. Who names their kid Barlow exactly? But maybe it was short for Bartholomew. Sir Warncliffe. Absolutely. Thank you, Jerome. Yeah, so this is a Rough Rider, and this is in that lovely tobacco bone, but really nice clip point. And these are great. Yeah, where's Warthog when we need him? Exactly, Zen. There's so many. Randy would name his kid Barlow. Well, I guess as long as the wife approves, it's okay. And it has a pen knife, which again, does this make it a pen knife? Or is it just a jackknife? It fits into two categories at once, but no, it's a Barlow. Just when you think they can't. Sir Cotton Sampler. Yeah, that's another one. Would the Bowie be applicable? Yes, it would, El Cap, except for the fact that Bowie didn't make it, but Bowie made it famous. And we're talking about folding knives on this particular show. We haven't, so I kind of left Bowie out, but we'll give him an honorable mention because definitely he was there. Didn't they name the Warthog after him? Quite possibly. So here's the case purple barn board. It's tough because I gotta look at all these comments and do all of my job and all of Tom's job all at the same time. So if I get lost, y'all just let me know. And Mike Curtis got some nice Barlows at Bear and Sons, $12 each. Dude, I wish I was there. That's all I can say about that. I think I would have bought a couple at $12 a piece. Yeah, I'm in Barlows all day long for sure at that price. But yeah, let's go ahead and discuss further. So go ahead.
So
Who's
didn't
next?
wasn't the jackknife named after a jack?
Well, in a way, yes. Let me bring up.
I have no idea.
I have a comment.
I have
a
no
comment
idea.
on that, but I got to find it.
This is my case, little Jack. I finally sharpened it last night, and these carbon blades really took on a nice edge. This
Oh,
main
that's
blade has
sweet.
been sharpened more
That's
than.
the 44.
Boy, I don't have my glasses on. I think it's the 44. Yeah,
There we
6244. This is a 1975. I've showed it before, but been meaning to sharpen it and finally busted out the stone. And yeah, it didn't take long to get these blades sharp. But I was wondering, did Jack invent this one, or they just call it jackknife?
Well, I'm trying to find a video that I made on jackknives, and it was I don't think I'm finding it on here, but I had a guy leave a comment that was like the best comment of all on the history of those. I didn't think to get it pulled up. Hey, Tony, didn't get a chance to pull that up before, but I'll see if I can find it.
And-
Why did Tom get the sack? Tom did not get the sack. Tom, for those of you that don't know, if you missed it, El Cap Addict, that's an awesome question. Anybody know how the Duke was named? Yeah, I think that had to do with the North African tribes that were using that. Yeah, Jack Naff Makerson. That's it. 1 minute, got it. Baron von Canoe. Yeah, you guys are awesome. I love the stuff. Yeah, the Lanny's clip. But was the Lanny clip? Tony Bowes did that, but did he name it after Lanny, or did Lanny design it first?
See, I've called it something
there you
else as well. I've seen it not a different maker call it another name and then clip.
Yeah. Here we go. I'm gonna bring you up, Cal, so I can research some stuff here real quick. Go ahead and tell us all about that knife.
And really, if you're technical about it, it looks like Remington made the back pocket before Tony Bowes did, because they made a jumbo trapper. You know, the back pocket trapper, at least the Panama. They made a jumbo trapper that looks identical to the Panama. The Remington did, I think, in the 90s or somewhere in there. But this is just a Texas Jack 32 pattern. I showed the larger one earlier, the 92, or maybe I just showed RJ before the live stream. But,
it could have happened.
And this one is, I believe it's brown bone, and with the silver case shield. It is really, this case shield, it's hard to look at just with your eyes, but it's even harder to pick up on the camera. It just, maybe that was their issue with it. It didn't, it's hard to look at. I don't know any other way to put that, but your eyes don't seem to want to focus on it for some reason. But it just has the standard California style clip, and whereas the 92 had more of the standard clip point. It was a lot taller and regular pin blade. This is probably my favorite Texas Jack that I have.
Yeah, I think I found the video, so I'm going through the comments to see if I can find. And
I also had
it's not there.
a 87 pattern. This is this one's one for the confusing nice patterns. is so I have 087. This one's PE, which means it has the spay and a penknife instead of sheep's foot. And then take note of that shape of the pattern there. And also remember 87. Okay. And I just received this one from a garage sale over the week, and exact same pattern. Let me close the blades on this one. In my opinion. Very cool, Gizmo.
Yep, Gizmo
That
knows
makes
the
a lot
deal.
of sense. But anyways, this top one here it's the same knife. It's the exact same pattern. They're identical in shape, identical in length, but the pattern on this blade says 6244. And anybody that has the 42 pattern, like Andrew just showed, which I also have in red bone, it's totally different looking. This is a 44 pattern. This is a 6344. So if anybody knows why this says 6244, this one says 6344, but they are square bolster, rounded bolster, and different shape. I mean, completely different shape. So
Yeah,
anybody with any insight on that, I would love to know what's up with that.
yeah, I have no idea. It's very confusing, and it's surprising that they have different style bolsters too.
Yeah. And it also could just be that the wrong blade possibly made it onto that knife. I don't know.
True.
Yeah, it could happen.
That's a 7344, which is a 2023. It's got the
Stockman.
curly oak,
Yeah.
and this is a Stockman. It's a 44, but it's a 7.3. The curly oak 3-blade 44. So I don't know how.
They changed a few things, I think, 10 years ago in their coding, like the first number. The Shepherd Hills, they have a coding chart, and it goes back 10 years, and it does change things up a bit compared to the old 70s and 80s knives. So that's probably why.
That's the thing. These are all old knives that I have. These are all real old knives.
Yeah.
They have conflicting pattern numbers.
Yeah, I think RJ probably said it could be like a factory defect or something like that, But as far as Terry's, that says a 7, I think they did change some of the codes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very confusing because then even with the codes, they'll have 2 or 3 different materials for that number. So then you still can get confused because you're looking at it and you're trying to figure out what it is. The only thing I know for certain is that a 3 is for yellow synthetic. That never changed.
Interesting.
So,
but you could get the brown synthetic with the 6.
Right. And that means bone also too.
That's a different synthetic. It's not yellow.
Well, I mean, you also get it with bone, the 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's any bone.
exactly. Yeah. So
whether it's smooth or jigged, either one.
Yeah.
See, again, there we go with the confusion with the who knows what. So see, some live show 20 years from now, probably going to be old man Cal's show. He's going to look like me.
I've got the answers, guys. I've got the answers finally. I finally figured it out, everybody.
Yeah, too bad everybody else is all gone, but I'm still
No,
here.
y'all will be here in hologram form.
Yeah, we'll be AI generated.
That'll be the day, won't it?
Lord,
that day sooner than we want to think about. That's for sure.
Oh,
by then, all the knife blades will be made out of ceramic.
Yeah, maybe.
or are hot and can melt metal.
Yeah, that too.
They'll all be lightsabers.
All the knives will be banned by then.
Yeah, that could be too.
You're gonna have to.
When they do that,
Your kitchen
when they
knives will
do
be
that,
plastic butter knives.
I was gonna
That's
say,
gonna-
when they do
yeah,
that,
yeah.
how in the world you gonna cut your tomato up for your sandwich?
Right, exactly.
You got to have a sharp knife for that.
And then, that's when a Spyderco will be considered a grandpa knife.
Probably so. Probably so.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Rod. I got one. I got a question.
Okay.
All right. So we all agree that this is a Stockman, correct?
Yeah, looks like a Stockman to me.
I feel a
Okay.
trick question coming.
Okay, we all agree that's a Stockman. Everybody, some people even call it a Rancher. Matter of fact, I think Old Timer has Uncle Henry has one of theirs they call a Rancher.
Yeah, they had the Rancher. They also had the premium stock was
Mhm.
another one of theirs. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, what do we call this?
A cattleman's knife.
Okay. It has a clip blade, a sheep's foot, and a pin. This has a
Flip point.
clip blade, a sheep's foot, and a spade. But they also sometimes have a pin.
Okay.
So what do we call them? Are they cousins?
Yeah.
Stepbrothers? What are they?
Yeah, they're related. I'd say
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
But one, the one is equal ended.
Cigar.
Exactly, and then the other one is the serpentine pattern.
Right. So, in all actuality, you can call this a Stockman if you wanted to. For all actuality.
People are gonna call knives what they want to call them, anyways.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
what,
because
what we're doing here is we're playing devil's advocate. So,
of course. Well, I got one of my favorite Stockmans, and this is a case serpentine 18 pattern, but it has a punch. And they call it still a Stockman, but I've also seen where the ones with a punch are sometimes referred to as a cattle knife. And then I forget, Warthog was the one that had the rail splitter knife, and then that's a 3-bladed knife that was interesting as well. So there's all kinds of once you get into the 3-blade knives, you're in a big rabbit hole, and you're going to be exploring stuff. They have big ones, little ones, different kinds of blades, and all kinds of stuff.
also too on those like you got there, Rod, they also sometimes refer to that as an improved, just like what he's got right there.
Right.
This is the Queen version.
Yep.
And it's pretty much the same, but I just started seeing those case ones. I think Kentucky Knife had one, and that's the first time I've seen yours, Rod.
Yeah, Shepherd Hills has this one. It's has the black synthetic and carbon steel. So definitely one that if you want to pick one up, and they weren't a bad price, but definitely good. And yeah, Mike's Life says that's why I stick to 2-blade pen knives. Well, what about the single blade ones? When you look at like the Old Timer Pal and the Roadie and some of these other ones, they just got a single blade. And Patty got mad when I tried to call those a pen knife, but what would you call them? They don't have the secondary pen blade on them, but
a gent knife.
Oh, okay. So it's just a gent knife. Gotcha.
I've always heard the single bladed, variant of the jackknife called gent knife. I don't know if that holds any water, but the single bladed ones I've always heard referred to as gent knife, and the double bladed ones on the same bolster being called the jackknife.
I'll go with it. I'll allow it. That's good.
But you mentioned rail splitter a while ago.
Yes.
And when I purchased this knife, they had it labeled as a rail splitter. So I don't know if this is also a variant of a rail splitter. But it also has been called a jumbo jack, and it's also called my mind just went blank. I've stated it before, but it also has another name. which I can't recall at the moment.
Not a problem.
But yeah, so
And that's just a single bladed knife.
yeah, and it's just a single blade.
Okay. Yeah, because the
well,
one
oh,
he had
swell
that was
end.
a rail splitter had 3 blades on it.
Right. That's just what this was called when I purchased it. That's what they had it listed as, was a rail splitter. So don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, but what
And-
you said it just then. It's also called a swell end
Oh, okay.
because one end is larger than the other.
I know a jumbo jack is one of my grandson's favorite hamburgers.
Ah.
So there's that. And yes, Zen and I are trying to get together to make a video of his Case Stockman's. We were having some technical difficulties, but that will be awesome when we get together to do that. I'm really looking forward to seeing his collection, and that'll be a fun episode. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. I couldn't find that particular comment. I had a comment where a guy left like this whole historical thing about jackknives and how they started in France and what his opinion of it, how they started and stuff. If I can find that comment, I will. Panama. Yeah. So what happened in Panama to call a huge trapper that? That's for sure, William. I don't know. And they have the Panama Trapper too, which is really big. So yeah, they got that. But anyways, when I find that comment, I'll see if I can post it on my channel. It's just a post in YouTube, and we'll highlight that comment. So I won't leave you hanging. It's just going to take longer than I can find on a live stream. That's for sure. Yeah,
Possibly.
Panama
Tony,
hat.
I was just gonna say possibly Tony Bowes went down to Panama and came back realizing he needed a bigger knife when he goes down there.
Yeah, that's it. I believe it.
It's possible. I remember I was in the service when Panama happened, that whole thing with Noriega and everything. I was stationed over in Germany at the time, and I was going through the, what would generally be called the NCO Academy. And of course, you're in a boot camp type environment where you're not getting newspapers or television or anything like that. So they called us in there one day and they said, "Hey, the balloon went up. We just invaded Panama." And I'm thinking, Panama? What the heck's going on in Panama? That totally was not on my radar at all. I had, of all the things I thought that we were going to have a war over, I had no idea Panama was going to be one of them.
So I finally got a whittler, and I don't know if you'd call it a whittler because there's no coping blade. But
I cannot cope with this.
They call this this is just a Frost Steel Warrior, and but it's got 2 pin blades, and they're actually a little different sizes. One's a little bit bigger, but they're pretty teeny. But I like this one because it has a really thin Wharncliffe on it, and I know what is it, the Seahorse or whatever has a bigger, more stout Wharncliffe. And I thought this was interesting, and I'm surprised. I'm really glad that it's it's the split 2 back springs, or the tapered down back springs, and it has half stops, and the main blade actually runs on both of the back springs, which is pretty interesting. But I finally picked up one, and the bone's pretty decent. I can't remember what they call this bone, but it's not bad at all. And I'm actually surprised at the quality of this for sure. It has really good snap and a half stop.
That's nice.
And other unique patterns you got, like of course the Marlin spike.
Yes, this is definitely for fighting marlins, right?
That's what I said in my video. When they get on the boat, you gotta stab them real quick before they stab you. And actually, Rough Rider just released this again in the brown burlap and the blue denim, and they're like $35 now. And this spike doesn't lock. This one locks, and the $35 ones don't lock. Which
If it doesn't lock, does that still make it a Marlin Spark knife? I mean, that was one of the features, is that locked.
Yeah, I wouldn't want one that didn't lock. I mean, you can have it in the half position and use it like this, but it's non-locking, if you're getting into a knot like that. But,
Yeah.
and you don't just use it to get knots out. There's other uses, but I thought it was pretty interesting that this was like a $15 one and it locks. And the new ones are $35. Maybe it's because the micarta and burlap are just so nice. It's a big knife.
I don't see that being worth the price upgrade for those. I had one in the red jig boned, and I ended up giving that to my brother-in-law because he does a lot of stuff with cranes and rigging and stuff, and JB likes to use one of those knives when he's at work. So I gave him that one to try out and stuff. And as far as I know, he likes it, but I think when I bought it was like $15.
Yeah.
And so now if they're $20 more and they have less features, then to me that's not that's good.
Call that a replica.
It's something, but yeah, I mean, because you can buy good knives like that. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, you can buy good rigging knives and sailors' knives and stuff like that with
$100 with serrations and really good, useful. And for small jobs, I'm sure this will work fine. But I was really surprised at how big it is too. It's a big knife. Yeah,
I think that's one of the things. William, he says he was surprised at the new prices of the new ones. Smoky Mountain certainly is showing some signs of inflation. That's for sure, because they've raised their prices on a lot of stuff. It's not as affordable as it used to be. That's for sure.
Well, and some of their new ones are surprisingly affordable, like the Center Swell and the Coke bottle are surprisingly affordable, and the fit and finish is just incredible. And usually the Rough Rider Reserves have been really more pricey, but they're coming out with a few of those in bone, and they're under $30. So I'm curious to see what those look like.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, then they came out with that new collector series that they just put out, and I don't know if the first price was a undisclosed sale price or whatever, but they were like $24, and then a couple days later they moved them up to $35, and so a lot of people were upset about a $10 price hike with no warning, with no nothing. So.
Is that the Black Reserve you're talking about?
Yeah, the Black Reserve knives. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So that was kind of a surprise for everybody, and I know some people were saying, "Well, I'm not even going to buy one." So
it's hard to spend more than 30. Hard to spend more than 30 for a Rough Rider, but people will buy them, especially if their quality is going up. And the price of everything's going up, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
But I like my Rough Riders under $20 for sure.
Oh, okay. So Randy's WSG, he says that according to Greg over there from Smoky Mountain, said they did not factor in the price of the box initially. So
yeah, it's a fancy box.
Yeah, it does.
So the box is $10.
Yeah, and the knife is $20.
If they agree to keep the box, will they sell them for $24?
That's what I was wondering about. If they do that, it would be nice. I mean, would a Jack Wolf knife cost $300 if you just got it in a cardboard box? I don't know.
Maybe not. With some silica.
You're opening up a can of worms that you probably never get the lid back on right there, though.
Well, I'm not trying to say anything that hasn't been said before.
Absolutely.
And we love Jack Wolf knives. They're just some I look at. They're like Ferraris to me. I look at them, I like them, but I'm not going to buy one.
It's out of my range.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we got a little bit of time left. We've talked about several patterns, but we haven't talked about the pattern that paved the way west, as they say.
There we go. I knew that was coming up, and I am been waiting for that.
You knew it was coming up. You and I are kind of we kind of alike. We both like these trappers.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know where that came from. Conquered the West or paved the way to the West or whatever. I don't know, but and I'll be the first to tell you that I am by no means a knife scholar. I tell it all the time. I am a lover of knives, and I know just enough to get myself in trouble.
Right on.
This is that brown peach seed jig bone, and I absolutely love it. From my understanding, the Stockman and all those actually came before this one did.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Correct me now, guys. I don't know this because I do not own a moose and I do not own a muskrat, nor have I ever. But I think those patterns are even older than this. Correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. In fact, we'll talk about it right now.
Go ahead.
So according to and a lot of this I got from Tobias, but then some research I did on my own. The actual pattern of a folding knife to go west first was a muskrat. This is a Roper muskrat. Thank you, Zen. He gifted this to me about a year or so ago. Still love this knife. This is in micarta, but it has two skinning blades of the same type, and that combined with a fixed blade knife and a hatchet. That's what most of your guys had, going west. But they would use that. Now the trapper pattern itself, as we know from Case today, and this is the cold steel trapper, because I love the blue bone. And I knew we were going to talk about trappers, and I hadn't shown this one enough. And I think they did a really good job on this one with cold steel. And how cool is it to have a traditional knife that says cold steel on it?
Exactly.
But when Case came out with this pattern of jackknife, this is one of their old patterns that was prior to 1915. So we're talking about the same age as when the TL29 electrician style knives are born. And I'll just pull this one out real quick, just for fun, because I have it here. But they basically needed to sell these, and the marketing department came up with a way to do it. So here's like the brand new thing coming on. Here's electricity. Here's telephones. Here's stuff that's going on in the world. So this would have been a modern knife in the early 1900s. So you got this one, and the marketing department at Case just said, "Hey, we'll just say it's the knife that won the West. We'll sell these," and that was kind of it's riding a wave of nostalgia back to the prior times before. When you're talking about the 1890s and the westward expansion in America and everything. It's kind of like, here we'll just sell this and say this is the knife that won the West. And they did. A double thing is because it has this nice big piece of bone or cover or whatever, is they could use that for billboarding, for company names, commemorative things and stuff like that, and they were able to sell a bunch of them. So Tobias says it was a pattern that wasn't selling that the marketing department saved. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think it's a good knife. It's a useful knife. It's one that I like to carry still today. So I think it's definitely, for what it is, a knife, a two-bladed knife. You can do worse than a trapper, but then all the hype and the marketing and the history, and some people get really upset about history like that. If somebody tries to say something and of course it was not necessarily so. So do I think that Davy Crockett had one of these? No. Do I think he would have liked one? Heck yeah. But at the same time, it's just one of those things.
More likely he had a muskrat.
Yeah, more likely or a fixed blade. I mean, because really fixed blades were what most of the pioneers were carrying. Because when you think about it, when guys were making stuff at the blacksmith shop, that's what they could turn out. They didn't have time to sit there. I mean, Kaylin, you can probably tell us better than most, since you actually are making slip joint knives.
Yeah.
You know, kind of how time consuming and difficult it is, even with modern machinery. Now you just have some raw stock and an anvil, you're going to make a fixed blade, I think, almost every day, you know, over a folding knife, because that's something that you actually needed to have a place where you had time and you know, the materials to do that. But
I would say, just according to my knife maker, he would make about 10 knives in 2 weeks, 10 folding knives, and he would start out with one pattern and he would make 10 of them. You know what I mean? And it would take him about 2 weeks, spending 4 to 6 hours a day in the shop.
right. Yeah, and I mean that's one of those things of, you know, when you think of that, they, you know, in the pioneer times, they didn't have time to just sit there and just make a knife. You know, they were making horseshoes, they were making nails for, you know, building. They were, you know, anything that was metal that had, you know, rings, you know, for your bridles, you know, the different connectors that you needed. They were making all that stuff all day long. And I think knives probably would have been kind of one of those things that, yes, they would make them, but they were making money on the other stuff, you know, first, and making a lot more of that stuff in quantity to sell. Let's take a look at what your knife you got there.
I have a muskrat, my favorite one. It's a fighting rooster, and just a beautiful variation of a muskrat.
Yeah.
The stag handles, 2 California clips, and it's really beautiful. But you wouldn't have needed much more than this, you know, much
Right.
more than one blade. You know, you get 2 blades, and that's really all you could ask for back then in those days. But another one we're forgetting is the folding hunter.
I actually didn't forget it. I just didn't have one.
Sorry. Well, I forgot it.
Okay.
But this one is it might be 1970s, but I can't see any dots, so it could be 64 through 69 with the Palcawood handles. This came with a clip point and a, you know, sodbuster style blade, your skinning blade there. And they also, and this one is the 6265. If anybody can tell me what Saab stands for, I would love to know. I mean, you hear people say Saab all the time, but I just don't know what that means. I would consider something like this to win the West before the Trapper won the West, you know, just for the
Right.
size. It's called a Hunter, you know, but I don't even know when they started making these. So if anybody
Yeah.
could tell us when they made these, you know, or started at least.
Yeah, I don't know, because that's the whole thing, you know, the clasp knife and the hunter model knives and all that stuff. Of course, all that. And trust me, I'm not a historian or expert or the final word on this subject. So you know, everybody take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I'm looking at stuff, but I'm looking at other sources, and nobody really knows, I don't think, the answers.
I definitely don't.
The first folding knife, if you look at one of the earliest examples of one, is one that they found from the Roman Empire. And that was another, you know, basically it almost looks like the Seahorse Whittler that I had here. It's, you know, this style of a blade, but it was, you know, much bigger and much cruder, and then just folded into a wooden handle, you know, with a pivot pin. You know, so, you know, folding knives have been around forever. It just kind of depends on what they could make, and, you know, the quality of them. That's for sure. I think it was easier to make a quality fixed blade back in the day than to make a dependable knife, because of handle materials were mostly going to be wood or maybe bone, but they're nothing like the modern materials or the modern manufacturing methods that we have now.
I would say too, also that a lot of those, I'm sure not all, but a lot of those first folding knives were friction knives.
Yes.
They didn't have back springs.
Exactly. Yeah, they were like the open L's, you know. That's for sure.
So Kirby Creek mentioned Saab could be the saber blade because it's kind of got a saber grind on it.
Right.
That's
So
a
this is a single blade, 6165, but it does not say Saab on it
oh, okay.
as the other one does. So I don't know. That's why I was curious if anybody knew that. Single blade instead of double blade.
It happens.
What happened?
I was going to ask you a question about that knife because it has a lanyard hole. If you close that blade, does it clear the? Would it clear the lanyard?
It does.
There you go.
Yeah, they both clear.
Because there are some knives, and I know we've all seen them that they'll have a lanyard hole, and the first time you close the knife, then you have 2 pieces of a lanyard.
Oh, no, that's for cutting weed eater string.
Yeah. What's that?
I said that's for cutting weed eater string.
Oh, okay. That's what it's for. Gotcha.
Well, that's a good question, Kaylin. I wonder when that Hunter pattern came out because it looks like an original huge trapper or the original Panama trapper. It's giant, the 2-bladed one. Mm-hmm. But I'm wondering when Case introduced it or who they got that pattern from.
Well, I know they made it from the 40s.
Yeah.
I know they made it from the 40s. I don't know before that.
Tim has one from the 40s.
Well, thank you, Zen, for that vote of confidence. I love it. He feels like he's learned a lot of stuff today. He just doesn't know what. And there you go. That's what we're trying to provide here.
Confusion.
So as you can tell, the traditional knife world is full of all kinds of different names and conventions. And yes, we learned that Marlin knives are for fighting Marlins, unless your Marlin is equipped with a Marlin, and then you've brought a knife to a gunfight. So
you're outgunned at that point.
Yeah, and then again, that is another thought to ponder. Isn't the purpose of a bayonet to take a knife to a gunfight on purpose?
When all the gunfighting's over, it's time for knife fighting.
Yeah, the Learning Channel. That's what we are, Jerome. That's for sure. Yep. Kirby Creek says K-Bar marketed folding hunters in the early 1900s, and that's for sure. And that's when you look at the history of the knife companies, that's where things really get very mixed up when you have the so many different companies came out of that industrial revolution. So many of them got gobbled up and put into other companies, and they all cross-pollinated. They all were making stuff, and they all took their turns as being the biggest or best manufacturers. And then slowly over time they all went out of business, to where we have the thing now where there's really there's Case and Buck that are still in America, and a lot of these other companies, Schrade and Old Timer, Camillus, a lot of these other ones, that the companies that own them now just really own the name. They're all being manufactured overseas and brought over here. They still have their old designs and stuff like that. And even when you're looking at something like Case knives, and I'm looking up patterns and their history, and they're saying, well, this is a Case knife that we know that it was around before 1940, but then that's all they say, or we know that this was around before 1915. So I don't, still at this point, I don't know what happened in 1915 or 1940 to Case in particular that they, had to make that kind of a mention in their history. So, what happened to the company at that time? I don't know what changes happened. So something obviously, financially, or maybe they shut down for a time and then restarted. When
was World War I? Forgive me.
That was back in
41 to 45.
No, World War I.
Oh,
World War I was 1915 to 1918, I believe.
There you go. That's what happened to Case. World War I and World War II.
There you go. Yeah.
If I had to guess, the dates line up.
Right. So they were making stuff for the war effort. You're right.
Probably.
That makes sense. So it's yeah, Jerome says 1914 to 1918. There you go. So yeah, so there you go. There's your history test for today too.
I hear you. I hear you.
But it's really interesting, all this stuff is fascinating, the history of it, all the different patterns and what they're used for. All I know is that just about everything you could think of that a knife could be made for, they did make it. So we have a wonderful bunch of patterns to choose from, to collect and to check out, and it's fun to geek out on this stuff. Did you get an A? Yes, Jerome, you got an A and some extra credit too. Thank you, Swamp Stomper. And yes, Cal, you want full screen?
Oh no, well that's fine too. I did get a couple of new knives this week. I don't know if you wanted to maybe show a couple of new knives before we get off of here. We're getting close to the 2-hour mark, but Randy over at Randy's WSG, he also sent me a couple of toothpicks, which
Nice.
for some reason never got the jack pattern or a jack variant or anything like that. It's always just been a single blade knife, which is
Except
different.
for a fish knife.
Oh, except for fish knife. There you go.
Yep.
That is true. Does Case make any fish knives with the
I believe they did. I have only one fish knife that was made by Stag over in Ireland.
Oh, nice.
So,
Nice. So this one's an amber bone, not a fish knife, but the Texas toothpick, the larger size. It is not the largest one I have. I honestly thought this one, it's smaller than I expected, because I also have a Fighting Rooster, very large toothpick, but it's quite a bit larger.
So would you say that the larger toothpick is better for your back teeth and the smaller one's better for up front?
Maybe working in a horse's mouth or something. I don't know why you'd ever want to stick this in your mouth. But this is more, the size for our mouths, I would say. But he sent me this one as well, this little pocket worn red bone
Nice.
toothpick. He didn't just send it to me. We had made a trade for that copper lock I sent him, the mini, and he threw this one in there. I actually threw a secret knife in mine as well. He had been mentioning he wanted a Barlow, so I threw in an old vintage Imperial Barlow that I had 2 of. So there you go. Those are my new knives. So anybody else want to share theirs? Go ahead.
Well, I shared mine at the beginning. I don't have a whole lot, but that Buck 309, I'll be making a video on it. It's a sweet little pen knife, or half Stockman, if you go back to the beginning of the show. And that's what kind of started this whole deal, because the seller on eBay had it listed as a half Stockman, and so then it made me think, well, we got all these half patterns, a half Stockman, and I thought it was just a pen knife myself, and we kind of went down the rabbit hole from there. Just show the Pecos. Yep, I hear you, Jerome. That will definitely get things going as to where that is. But yeah, that's what I have. I have some new stuff coming. I have another Case Stockman on its way, so that'll be another fun video. And I got some more videos that are coming up for sure. So we'll take a look and see what you got there, Terry.
My new one this week, or it come last week, is the Brother 1508 with smooth cow bone and Warncliffe blade. And I haven't made the video on it yet. Took it up close. I'm not going to show a whole lot of it. I've done a short on it in a pocket dump, but to do an actual video on it and really show it off, I am digging on the Brother knives. I am on the bandwagon. Ordered another one today.
They're definitely good stuff. That's for sure. Yeah, and if anybody in the talk box, Zen makes a good point. If anybody in the talk box got a new knife, go ahead and share that with us, and And Thomas Odell says yes, he has an amber bone case fish knife, Cal. So you got
Oh, very nice. That's cool.
another knife on your list to.
Yep.
Did you get anything new this week, Andrew?
Yeah, I got a few things. I did pick up the Ram Hornbone by Rough Rider. It's listed as a Stockman, but it's not. It's 2 blades on 1 back spring.
There you go. It's a half Stockman.
They Thrifty reviewed it, and it's basically a pen. They call it a pen knife, which makes sense because the case is two bladed or a pen knife. But very, very good snap. Very thin, and it's 3 1/4 inches closed, so very thin pocket carry. But I think this is my first 2 bladed on a single back spring, and my first pen knife. I picked that up. I did notice that earlier. I think I heard Kalen saying most bucks run on. They have a back spring for each blade. But when I was at my friend's house, he showed me 2 buck Stockmans, and they were 2 back springs. And he never knew that Buck did a back spring for each Stockman, but he had one, and I pointed that out. Which most of them are, but that kind of blew his mind that Buck is one of the few that does a back spring for each blade. And I was just surprised to see a Buck with 2 back springs, Stockman with 2 back springs.
Well, see, what happened with that is that way back in the beginning, when Buck decided they were going to make these Stockmans and everything, they actually contracted with Schrade and with Camillus. And so Schrade did it for, the first couple of years. Buck did not like the quality that they were putting out. So then they switched to Camillus. And then eventually in the mid 80s, Buck took over the manufacturing themselves. So I guess they needed time to tool up, but they wanted to make those offerings in the market. So if he has one that has 2 springs, then it's going to be either made by Schrade or Camillus. And if Tom was here, he could tell you what to look for to tell you what the difference is.
That's probably what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it is. He got one of the early ones, which is cool, because those were made in the 60s and the 70s, So
it's safe to say a Buck-made Buck would have 3 springs then.
Yes.
I think pretty much, yes.
Okay.
I think that would be safe to say.
Okay.
And then the other ones were, I think, basically Buck, I guess, designed ones or whatever. I don't know how to. When Tom comes back, we'll talk about Stockmans and stuff like that, because he's got the 300 series, he's got the 700 series, he's got a bunch of them. We'll talk about that with him. So that'll be an upcoming episode. We'll go over all kinds of Stockman. We'll have a Stockman extravaganza. I know Terry will hate that. You don't like.
I might have to lay out that day.
Yeah, so we'll have a fun Stockman show. Will definitely come up, and when we get Tom back on here, like I said, he has. Tom has the comparison video. Zen pointed that out, so that'd be a good place to start, Andrew, to take a look at that and see what the differences are.
Yeah, it's probably like you said, the other manufacturers did make them for Buck for a while, and these were his father's knives. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, that totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But they're good knives. I mean, you're basically one you're looking at an old timer, and the other one you're basically looking at whatever Camillus called theirs. I don't know if they had a name for their Stockmans, but that was definitely a good knife. That little 309 I have was made by Camillus. Because I can check it out. It only has 1 spring, and a brass spacer. So, in the video, I'll go over all the designing features and stuff. It made me want to go get more, because I know that there's, like Randy WSG, he has a version of the 309 that has the little cutout in the frame for the secondary blade, and this one does not have that. So
the easy open,
the Schrade ones, and then of course Buck makes their own version too, which then they've discontinued since then. So interesting stuff. But anyways, guys, we're here at the 2-hour mark. So unless anybody's got something pressing, we'll go ahead and wind it up. Any last words, Terry, Cal, or Andrew?
There are lots to roads to travel down as a collector.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I just like to say thanks to everybody, and appreciate everybody in the talk box. Appreciate Kaylin, appreciate Andrew, and most of all, RJ, we appreciate you for allowing us to be on your show.
Oh, thank you very much, Terry. It's very kind of you guys to show up and be here to help support it and to round out the discussion. I think it's a lot of fun having these panel shows because I like to get everyone's opinions. I like to see different knives. I think if it was just me showing just my collection, it would get boring real fast. Yeah.
No way.
Well, thank you, Cal. All right. So you guys have a fantastic week. Thanksgiving is happening here in the U.S. I know it already happened in Canada. So this next week, hopefully it'll be a light week for all you guys that are still working and everything. And have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families. And we will see you next weekend. Don't eat too much turkey.
Bye, guys.
All righty. See you all later.